Hello, I'm TFR Wilderness and welcome to this month's edition of my series of videos on my G1 Ultra Magnus restoration. This being October, this is the 10th episode in this particular series. And this month, the job I set aside to do, or the job I wanted to do this month, was to sort out the sun fading on the white plastic parts for the cab unit. Now, I will say it's been very much a case of trial and error this month, because previously when I did the bits for the trailer, I did them using that technique whereby using the power of the sun, you get a bright sunny hot sunny day, you get some of that peroxide gel, you paint it, you blather it on the parts, you then put them in like a Ziploc bag, and then you leave them out in the sun for a couple of hours, and then through the action of the sun's ultraviolet rays and the heat of the sun, it then causes the magic to happen where the peroxide lifts the discoloration out of the plastic, and that's how it worked. But the thing is, now that we're getting towards the end of the year, the strong sunlight is no longer there, and obviously we had that mad heat wave here in the UK back in sort of like back end of June and early July, where we had a period of about, what was it, 4 to 5 weeks where we had nothing but record temperatures, blazing hot sun. And really what I should have done was I should have done the parts back then, but I didn't. The reason being was because at that point in time I was doing something else and I wasn't ready to do the white plastic parts for the cab unit. I hadn't got them prepared, which was a bit of a regret on my part, because I could have easily have got through them using the method that I already knew back then, but I forgot all about it. And then, but keeping this in mind, coming through the back end of September, I had a fairly bright sunny day, so I decided to try and putting some parts out in the autumnal sun, and this video clip will show you exactly how that went. Okay, it's Saturday morning, 29th of September, and as you can see, we've got a bright sunny day, clear sky, so I thought I'd try and put some parts out in the sun using the tried and tested technique, and we'll see how these go. Obviously this isn't strong summer sunshine, this is weak autumn sunshine, so whether or not it works I don't know. We'll just give it a go. So I've treated some of the parts and put them out on this board in the garden, and we'll see how things go. Not that confident that it's going to do much good, but we'll have to wait and see. But this is a start, making a start on treating the discoloration on the white cab parts. Right, so I've had these bits out outside in the sun for a few hours. Let's see what they're like. Right. It seems to have got rid of some of the fading, but you can probably still see there's a bit of a yellow mark there. That was quite badly stayed, and this one here has still got a very obvious yellow mark on it. So this has only been, I mean, there's still marks in there. This has only been semi-successful. It hasn't really cured the sun fading on these parts, but then again, we're using weak autumn sunshine instead of strong summer sunshine. So yeah, only semi-successful. Right, so as you can see, I had very limited success using, like I said, the weak autumnal sun. It did remove some of the yellowing on the parts, but it didn't fully eradicate it. You know, it didn't really brighten the parts up as much as I would have liked. So it was a case of now, okay, I can't rely on my tried and tested method of using using the sun to do the work. So I had to try something else. Now, when I was at TF Nation, I was speaking to somebody in the bar, and they mentioned that it's not actually the action of the ultraviolet rays that does the business. It's heat that does the business. And in fact, if you get these pieces and you put on the peroxide gel, and you wrap them in cling film, and then you gently heat them with a heat source like a hairdryer, and apparently that's supposed to work as well. So I was game for anything, so I thought I'd try that method out, and as you can see in this next clip, this is what happened. Right, okay, in my quest to retro bright the remains of these white plastic parts for my Ultra Magnus cam unit, I did try to do a load of them in the some weak autumn sun, and it's only been semi-successful. But I have been told of another technique which involves heat. You basically use something like a hairdryer, and then you warm it up, and it's the action of the heat and the gel that does the business, and not the ultraviolet rays from the sun. But I'm a little bit dubious about this. But I'm going to put this. I'm going to do a little test piece here. So what the plan is, I've got this piece here. It doesn't look that faded, to be honest. It's not really the best piece. I mean, some of these ones here still look a bit yellow. That one there still got a bit of a stain in there. Where's the other one? That one will probably be better. So the idea is you blather it with the gel, you then wrap it in cling film, and then you gently warm it with like a hairdryer or a heat source. And obviously I've got some tinfoil on here to act as a heat shield. The danger with doing this technique is that if you overheat the piece, use too much heat, you can start warp the plastic, start melting the plastic. But this is an experiment just to see if this method works at all. I have got another idea. I noticed you can get those ultraviolet, sort of nail varnish dryer things that you can buy. I've just ordered one off eBay from Germany. Don't know when it's going to arrive, but I might try using that as a backup. But let's have a go with this, shall we? Well, you can still see there's a bit of a mark on that. I can't see how this method's going to work, and I don't know what the full technique is for doing it properly. I still think the infrared, well, the ultraviolet rays of the sun is what does the magic on retro brighting, because you see a lot of people on eBay who are making like ultraviolet sort of like boxes where they put like some LEDs or some bulbs inside, and then they put the parts in, they close it up, they leave it for a couple of hours, and it works that way. So
yeah, I'm not 100% convinced that this heating method is actually working. It doesn't seem to be with this little test that I've done, though I might not have given it enough time. But there's still a yellow stain on that piece. So, yeah, experiment inconclusive. We'll just have to get this nail dryer that I've just ordered. Hopefully it'll arrive for the end of the month, which it should do. And then we'll see what we can do with that.
So yeah, as you saw, that's the heating method didn't seem to be working. But I think the reason why it wasn't working was that I wasn't giving it enough time. Because knowing what I know now on the other method that I've been using over the last week or so, it's a very time-consuming process. You need to, whatever it is you're doing, whether you're bombarding it by heat or ultraviolet radiation, you've got to do it over a number of hours before it'll have any effect. So just sitting there for like 5 to 6 minutes, just blasting hot air onto it with a hairdryer isn't going to cut it. So I decided that this method wasn't for me. It wasn't going to work. And with that in mind, I went ahead and, like I said at the end of that clip, I ordered a machine from Germany to do the job. And on the 20th of October, it arrived, and then I started using it. And here's the clips that I took for that.
Okay, right, so let's try again with this retro brightening thing with a new way of doing it. Yeah, I've obviously these parts I did put out in the sun with only limited success, obviously because with it being weak autumn sunshine, it's only had limited success. I then tried the other technique of coating it with the stuff, wrapping it in cling film, and then heating it with a hairdryer. That didn't seem to be working. So now I've been and bought this. This is a UV finger nail dryer. I bought it from Germany, and you can see it's got ultraviolet fluorescent tubes inside it. Now I'm going to use this for retro brightening, which is probably what it's not intended for, but I'm going to try it out anyway. And I've got this piece as a test piece. It's the head. As you can see, it's quite clearly got some yellowing on it. And out of all the pieces I've got, this is by far the worst affected piece. So I'm going to use this as my test piece in my new machine and see if it works. I'll try it for like 1 hour to start with. I don't know whether the duty cycle on this machine is intended for... It has got a continuous mode, though it doesn't say in the instructions how long you should run it in the continuous mode. I'll try it for an hour, see how it goes. And right, let's give this a go. So I've just got to put some stuff onto it, and we'll see how that does. And there we go. The first piece is in there. We'll see if this works. Right, now it's been in there for about 2.5 hours. I had a 1 hour session to start with, took it out, reapplied the peroxide gel, put it back in for another half an hour. Checked it again half an hour later. Actually, no, it's been in there for 3 hours. Tell a lie, it's been there for 3 hours, yeah. So I had a session of 1 hour, then 2 sessions of half an hour, and another session of an hour. So let's have a quick look. It seems to have reduced the yellowing a little bit. There's still evidence of it being there. Maybe it needs to go in there a little bit longer. It has reduced the yellowing quite a bit, so I think I might try it a little bit longer. But it's a very time-consuming process doing this. It does seem to be working. It's very, very slow. We'll give it about another hour and see how it goes. Right, I've just taken it out after about 4 hours. Obviously, you know, it's been washed out by the LED and it looks white, but there is still some yellow staining on it. It has reduced the intensity of it, because this thing was positively brown before it went in. So it's been in for about 4 hours. It's very slow. It's not as fast as, you know, putting it out in strong sunlight. It does seem to be working, but again it's very slow, and you have to keep reapplying the gel. But right, we'll just have to try it with the rest of these parts and those parts. Yeah, so onward and upwards. Right, this piece, I've just had it in there for about 6 hours. The piece in the middle had brown staining on the inside of the seat. That seems to be okay now, so I'm quite happy with that piece. These ones, they still have a slight discoloration on here, and like I said, they've been in for like 6 hours. It's a very, very slow process. It does seem to be working, but again, like I said, it's really slow, and I don't think it's as effective as, you know, using real sunlight. Still, I'm going to make the most of what I've got, and I've got a lot of pieces to get through. So let's just continue.
So as you see, it was very much a kind of trial and error to begin with. When I was working with that machine to begin with, I hadn't quite sussed out the best method to use it, and I was putting the bits in at the beginning for like, you know, an hour, half an hour to an hour, and getting mixed results. It wasn't working quite as well as I thought it would, and it wasn't until earlier this week that I then decided I was going to get the parts that I'd put out in the sun previously on September the 29th. Those parts I put out in the sun, because they were halfway done. I decided to start going through those, and so I started with the leg pieces. I painted on the peroxide gel, put them in the machine, left them in there for 3 hours, and when they came out, they were significantly better. I'd inadvertently stumbled upon I would say a sweet spot of making this thing work, and ever since then I've been using these 3-hour session slots. You know, I use a timer on my mobile phone, set it for 3 hours, put the stuff in, go away, do other stuff, the alarm goes off, beep, 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 come back in, and I get the bits out, clean them out, and then put the next lot in. And this week I've been getting on with that, and been going great guns. Now, one thing I do want to say at this point in time, obviously the stuff I've been using is this Jerome Russell B Blonde, UK's #1 leading blonding brand. It's a special peroxide gel for, you know, dyeing your hair. Now, please be aware, obviously, the active ingredient in this is peroxide, and it is a chemical. And as such, when you're handling chemicals, you've got to be very careful. Now, earlier in the week, as I was doing these 3-hourly, part treatment sessions for the treatment of the parts, one particular night I wasn't wearing my gloves. I was barehanded. I was holding the piece in my hand and I was painting the gel on with a paintbrush, and I got some gel on my fingertips. As I went through got the stuff ready to put in the machine, I started feeling tingling sensations on my fingertips. And then when I'd finished what I was doing, that tingling sensation started to turn to a burning sensation. And when I looked on my fingertips, I could see the ends of my fingers. There was like a white residue was forming on the ends of my fingers. So I thought, okay, right, we've got a problem here. Dashed into the bathroom, washed my hands thoroughly, and it didn't, even though it soothed it washed the gel off and it soothed the burning sensation, the white staining was on there for a couple of hours until it wore off. So yeah, word of caution, when you're using chemicals, make sure you wear gloves or other protective materials, protective equipment, like goggles, face mask, gloves. Just be aware of that. I had a little moment where I got a bit of an issue going on with the irritation of the skin by getting some of this stuff on my skin. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. Anyway, yeah, so this week I've been going through doing the parts, and yeah, they're majority of them are done. It's worked pretty well. They're not perfectly white, even though you look at them under artificial light and they look pretty bright. But if you take the parts out and put them on a clean piece of paper, it's obvious that they're not quite as bright white as the paper. But it has improved the look of these parts, and when you look at them now, you'd be hard pressed to see any evidence of sun fading on them. So I think using this machine to do my retro brightening, it has worked quite well. So yeah, it's got all those ultraviolet fluorescent tubes in there, and it's been a great help. How much did I pay for that machine? I think it was about 28-30 quid shipped or something like that from Germany. But it's worked really well, and I will be using it to retro bright some parts on my other transformers. For instance, one of the tail wings on my G1 Skywarp is badly sun faded, so I'm gonna have a go with that. But yeah, so at the end, after faffing around with various other methods, I've finally got something that works, and I've managed to sort out the sun fading on the white cab parts. So moving on to next month, obviously we're going to be putting the cab back together, reassembling it with all these treated parts, and then the final edition of this video will be in December, when I put the decals on and possibly put the decals on, do the final reveal. There are a few other bits, like some of the chrome pieces I need to touch up my chrome pen, and also the front of the cab that flips down, so you can put the Diaclone drivers in the seats or put the fists in the cab. Hasn't got any glazing in it, so I'm going to be making up. So I've got some thin plastic perspex. I'll be making up some glazing for it, so I'll probably be doing that next month. So with that said, that is all for this episode today. I hope you've enjoyed it and found it interesting and informational. Yeah, onwards and upwards. The restoration of my G1 Ultra Magnus is going ahead slowly but surely, and next week, like I said, we'll be putting the cab back together, and so hopefully you'll be looking forward to that. So that's been me, TFR Wilderness. I'll catch you all next time. Ta-da.